start the recording early since it's private. Doesn't matter where we start.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So got a few different questions for you. First
hmm
off, how long have you been playing Overwatch for?
I've been playing since season 3, but it's been a while since I've put in a lot of hours. Like the past maybe 10 seasons, I've only played I don't know 10 hours each.
So including this one too.
Yeah, but I'm trying to grind more.
All right. So low. My second question is usually how often are you playing recently? So I assume that's just a little bit, but you're trying to ramp it up.
hmm
Um. So final question for you is: do you have any questions for me before we begin?
Not really.
All right, then let's just go ahead and get started. Right, we'll just say look at your gameplay for a minute or two here, and then go from there.
Time to raise my ape. You needed a doctor? Restoring you.
Right, so the first thing that I would probably be doing on this map is approaching from the left side rather than the right side. So specifically because Genji is not a kind of long range character, and he's more like a mid to close range character. He doesn't really play well long ranges. You coming in on the left side is gonna allow you to get in on top of people easier than if you're coming in on the right side. Is this side of the map is a little bit more open than this side of the map. So
hmm
that's just the first thing I would be looking at here.
The objective is now active. Allow me to repair the damage. You needed a goddess? I'm under attack.
I'm sorry.
Right, so far with our play style, it seemed like during that fight, it was just a lot of poking and a lot of not really us accomplishing much. So a lot of Genjis like to, they kind of have the misconception that the entirety of their kit is based around Blade and that is it. And when you have that misconception and you just kind of go for a poke play style and that's it, then you end up falling behind in any fight that you're not using Blade. And then Blade is just not really, it's a very powerful ability and ultimate, but it's also not going to be something that you're getting consistently enough to be able to carry the entire game. So we got to rely on more than just Blade. In this instance, we just kind of with our play style, we were just kind of poking. We never went in aggressively on anything until the very end of the fight after we had already lost the fight.
hmm
And then that's why nothing got accomplished, right? And then we obviously didn't get Blade yet, which means that now it's just a free fight that we give them. Right, so just so far with the play style looking like maybe get more aggressive, make sure you're not just poking for Blade, but you're also looking to actively kill things, because you also notice that when we're actively looking to kill things, we're probably going to even get more ult charge than if we're just poking, because when you get more aggressive, you're getting dash damage in, you're getting easier shots, because when you're close up next to somebody, you're hitting more shots than if you're trying to poke them from a distance. So again, just in general, you'll benefit more from being a little bit more aggressive than that first fight.
This will restore you.
Oh, okay.
My ultimate. Double
Okay, very, very good dashes there. Good capitalizing on it. When we came in here,
This will restore you.
um, yeah, maybe not a reason,
Double
maybe
kill.
not needing deflect there because we didn't really have too many people shooting at us and had our support skill list. But besides that, very good plays with the dashes.
My will made real. Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei. Helden sterben nicht.
All right, so back at the beginning here, after we kill these two guys, what do you think? Maybe the men. What would you be thinking here, and why would we be backing out here? Why would we use the dash to back out? Or is it, this
Oh,
this
wait.
game could be this game could be old. I don't know. Do you know what you were thinking here?
No, I guess I just dashed.
Yeah. All right, so
Right.
first off, we kind of back out without needing to. Make sure that when you see that you're up picks here, so we'll talk about more about this if this becomes a consistent thing. But
Mhm.
when you're up picks like this and you have two people, that means you want to be a lot more aggressive. So here, after we get the picks, you want to be going in aggro on these people.
Okay.
Here into the Ana, um, I don't know. I don't want to start talking about too many things before I see if this is like a recurring thing. Probably could have dashed at the floor there. I'll go over that tech if that's something that see multiple times. All right, so now we're coming up on Blade. They're still contesting. All right, there we were very hesitant on the dash into the Mercy was one. So Mercy's 1 HP there, and then we didn't dash her, and then that meant that she was able to get out. Top of that, we kind of ignored the bomb. So far, it's looking like awareness might be an issue here. That might be a recurring thing that's going on. Again, just want to see more gameplay before we make any decisions on that. But there, just want to make sure we're paying attention to bomb. Okay, now fights progress a little bit more. We're definitely still at the advantage here. So blade might not be needed. Though it probably would have been a good idea to have used Blade earlier on in the fight there. Okay.
My spirit grows strong.
There, when you saw ball roll underneath to go back left, just chase him in there. Not anywhere he can go once he's in this room, right? That means he's just kind of rolling around in here. If we chase him with our whole team, we can kill him pretty easily, and then that's a stagger kill that you can get. Like, Moira went after him. It's just no one besides Moira went for him. So
Oh, okay.
there, we just want to make sure that we're going in after him. So therefore, again, another awareness thing that's seeming
Okay.
like it's being a recurring issue. I want to see how we use Blade here.
Yeah, I definitely do have like an awareness issue, I guess. I don't even remember seeing that ball.
All right, so decent blade mechanics. When you're going for a blade, do you typically communicate with your supports or your team when you're looking for it?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So here in the situation, would that just be Mercy ignoring you when you were saying it?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
I think she was not in the chat.
All right. Yeah. So then in that case, if she's not in chat, then when you're looking for your ult, rather than just flat out blading, make sure you're pressing your ult. You can press I have ultimate. That's a good one to have bound, especially on Genji, where you're looking to combo with a lot of different things. Just so you can spam I volt, I volt, I volt, right? And then that's a good indication to Mercy if she's not in chat that you're gonna look for Blade. If she is in chat, then you just say, "Hey Mercy, this fight I'm gonna look for a Blade. Make sure to pocket me, okay?" And then like at this point when you're getting ready for it, you go, "Mercy, Mercy, Mercy, get on me, right? I'm going right." And then that way you actually have the Mercy with you, and this doesn't take multiple slashes.
Yeah.
Right, but so they're just, I guess, better communication to make sure that just Mercy's with you. She's not always going to go with you, but we've got to do our best to try to get her to come with us. Oh, that's unfortunate with that timing.
Yeah.
Though maybe dashing a point isn't the best place to be trying to go. Um, so multiple other places we could go. We could dash. Point is very out in the open, and there's not a whole lot of cover on point. We could dash behind him. We can get that also does damage to him. We could dash through him here. We could we could even potentially kill him here because he's standing still, and those headshots become very easy for us. So we could potentially go for the kill on him if we just kind of triple dinked him and dashed through him. A dash through them, that puts us behind them. We can dash underneath here. That puts us past them. We can dash right side. Just dashing the point is a very risky idea because there's typically not a whole lot of cover on point. So that's probably one of the worst places that we could decide to dash to. Now on top of that, we opened up this fight, not really putting ourselves in a position to get on their backline. Now on any character, you have a kind of priority list of the best things for you to get on. Now, it's always gonna be situational of what you can get on. So typically, how that works is it's just tanks typically never a priority. When in compare, like if you have equal opportunity to kill something else or kill a tank, you go for the DPS or the support. Tanks have like 2 to 3 times the health. They have tanking abilities. They have shields. They have defense matrix, right? Supports can pocket tanks better than they can pocket themselves. And on top of that, right, DPS and supports just have the most statistical output, right? Tanks are still a very powerful role, but DPS do the damage, supports do the
Hmm.
healing, so therefore those are who we want to kill. Now, that means on a character like Genji, who we can just directly bypass tanks just by like going on a tiny little off angle or a flank, or we can just dash through them. Right, we don't really have to focus too much on them. Whereas per se, like a McCree might sitting with your team might struggle a little bit more to get to their backline. So there are times that we do focus tanks when tanks are low, when tanks are out of position, when tanks are the only thing that we can shoot at. That's when we shoot at tanks. But if we ever have an option and we should be actively looking to that option available, we go on something else. So here we just start off the fight, kind of poking at just going for the tanks here, and then the nano Genji, which it probably isn't the thing we want to focus here either, just because he's nanoed, you know. So when we have 3 people in this room who we could be going for, so the Ana, Kree, and Mercy, right, who are all much easier targets to kill, we instead just kind of poke here at the Diva,
I am ready.
Surrender to my will.
and then that's unfortunate. All right, so we're gonna go over that tech real quick, just because that does seem to be a reoccurring thing.
Hmm.
So when we are dashing at somebody, if we know that our dash is going to just go straight past them, then what we want to do is we want to dash the floor. So if we're going to dash somebody and our dash is just going to go really far away from them, then that means that when we turn back around, or let's wait till he stops here. So that means that never mind. He went the opposite direction.
Uh,
I just want to get this right. So that means that when we turn around, we're like super far away, and that follow up is very difficult, right? Because you're not able to just follow up with the right click or a melee. You're not able to follow up very well. So what you do instead is when you know that your dash is going to go through, send you past them, is you dash into the floor. What this is typically easiest if you jump beforehand, because now you have a downwards angle. Otherwise, you end up just kind of, it's very difficult to kind of direct where you want to stop when you're just sitting flat on the ground. But if you're coming from an upwards angle, that becomes a little bit easier to kind of manage yourself. So when we're trying to just not go past them, we can just dash at the floor, and then now we're ending closer to them, so that we're not just sailing past them all the way over here, right? Which has happened once or twice so far in the gameplay. So just make sure
yeah.
that we're looking to dash at the floor, so that follow up becomes much easier.
この程度か。
Okay.
Righty. But of course, that does not matter if you're looking for like a longer range dash. Then dashing at the floor isn't necessary. Right. So we were on Busan.
Now traveling to Busan. Ready for battle.
我が
I know where, I don't even know where we left off. Okay, this is right around after this because we got res. So here we just dash past her, and then we kind of lose her for a second. Maybe dodge a bomb. Alright, so then we have the difference between left click and right click. So your right click has a faster output of damage. So when you're right clicking, you are doing damage faster, because you're throwing out more shurikens faster, right? But your left click is more accurate, especially at longer distances. So when you're right next to somebody where all of your shurikens are going to get hit them, then your right click is what you want to do, because that's a faster output of damage. So when you're pretty close to them here, right? Or even if you're let's say you're spamming down a corridor and you know that all of your shots are going to hit, even if you're a little bit further away, right? It's all going to hit something. Then that's where we're adding right clicks in. But the further and further we get, then we can add in left clicks, especially if it's on a squishier target. Tanks, we can be more lean, because they have bigger hitboxes. We can catch them with more right clicks. So on squishier targets, we're going to be left clicking a bit more. Tanks, we can right click a bit more, and that's all going to be depending on distance. Now here we send out 2 left clicks at distances where this probably isn't necessary. We'll show this in a second once we get back to the spot. Why? Okay, I thought I clicked on you. Why did it not go? Alright, so here, like when we're right on top of the diva, and then you're going to see it again in a second there. There, we're left clicking, we're just kind of an inch from them. So just make sure you right click in those instances. Okay, when we're going up against the Mercy, we have to be very ready for her to be dashing.
Yeah.
All right, and then here we're gonna go over. Okay, now we're going over. Actually, never mind. They got the ball back, so this is actually more even than I thought it was. All right, so we got the damage boost that time. Nice played. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna look at that one more time. So right here. It is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3.5. Okay. So we're gonna talk about how to know whether or not you're winning or losing fights. So when it comes to knowing whether or not you're winning or losing fights, it all comes down to making sure you're paying attention to kill feed, which is the top right corner of your screen. When we are up 1 to 2 people, that's an advantage, right? That means that we want to be playing more aggressively. When we're up 2 to 3 people, that's where we've pretty much won the fight. At that point, we don't want to use ultimates, and that means that on top of that, we want to be playing super aggressively. That way we can go and hopefully get stagger kills. Now, this also goes the exact opposite way. When we're down 1 to 2, that's a disadvantage. You might want to play a little bit more passive, but you didn't lose the fight yet. Down 2 to 3 people, that's where you've lost the fight. You don't want to use ultimates in a lost fight, and you want to look to get out if you can, or look to die if you can't, so that you don't end up staggering yourself. Now, in this instance, right, if we look at the player count, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus a 1, 2, 3, and then Baby Diva, I like to count as like half. Sometimes I could probably even... That's just an easy way to just do the quick math in your head. Is Baby's a half, right? Because she's out of her mech and she's very likely to die here. So, in this instance, this is not a one fight yet per se, right? It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 3.5, which means that we have a 1.5 person advantage, which isn't necessarily a one fight, but that's at least where you should start being hesitant on whether or not you're using Blade, because using Blade in this instance could potentially lead to just an over ult, right? And then that means that now we don't get as much value as we could. So potentially they're just could have held on to it for an extra second, because there's a good chance that these guys might have even died here without us needing it. Because Hog did land the hook, right? And then Baby's out of mech and like low HP.
You needed a goddess?
See through the wolf's eyes.
Allow me to repair the damage.
Alright, so initial assessment of strengths and weaknesses. Looks like our ability usage is actually pretty fine, with just a few mess ups with our dash and deflect, and it's just a consistency thing. But so far, it's not like looking like we have any gross misuse of it. And it looks like we use them pretty consistently. Just when it comes to pure mechanics are looking alright, though we do struggle in a few areas, particularly knowing when to left click and when to right click with your shurikens. And then on top of that, just general awareness means that we end up losing people a lot when we're dashing through them. So we, like, just for instance, like right here, we end up kind of dancing. After we dash the tracer, we're like, huh, where'd everyone go? Right, so just watch this in a second, right? So we just, again, low awareness. We dash tracer and then we're like, huh? huh, right, huh, right, just looking
Yeah.
around, not really knowing what's going on. So, um, you know, awareness is definitely a big, probably looking like number one issue, but that could very much change by the end of the session because we've only seen one match so far. Blade looking pretty solid, but awareness feeds into a lot of essentially awareness feeds into decision making. When you have don't know what's happening, you can therefore not make good decisions. And when you do
Hmm.
know what's happening, you have the potential to make good decisions. Now, that means that our awareness can feed into us, for example, just messing up the last blade that we had, right? Or making us overult in that instance. So looks like awareness might be a big one here. Positioning, I'm probably going to need to see a little bit more of. I think just in general, especially at the very beginning, it was a big play style thing. Just make sure that we're on the right targets, doing the right thing, and not just poking from a distance, and not making sure we're focusing the things that we can kill and with target priority.
See through the wolf's eyes.
I have a question.
Yep, good.
Um, I guess it's kind of two. Um, so for the first one, with the being aggressive, I guess like
Ready.
maybe it'll like come with me with more time and practice of it, but I guess I lose a lot of like like really close engagements. Um,
Mm.
so
So it's not. Oh, sorry, I just got a Charlie horse in my leg. Ow, ow, ow. Okay, okay, sorry, I'm good. um, so it's not that you are getting more aggressive in the sense that I want you to immediately engage. Uh, engage. Genji is a character that essentially has a play style like an opportunist. What that means is that at the very beginning of the map, right? Let's say first fight. It's not that I want you to go instantly in on top of the Ana McCree and then lose.
mhm.
It's that what you're going to do is you're not going to poke from a mile away. You're going to go and get into more of a medium range distance on them. Usually it's going to be you want to keep within dash distance of as many players as you can, right? That allows you to go in and finish off kills. That puts you at a good range to do things, right? And that's kind of a mid range where you're not going to die super easily. Now, essentially, what you're waiting for is you're waiting for an opportunity. So, when something is low and you can dash it and finish it off. When someone is out of position, let's say you catch the Mercy or the Ana, the McCree off on their own, and you can go and duel them because Genji has a pretty one of the better duelist kits if you can get the jump on them, right?
Mhm.
You're waiting for your team to create space for you, right? If the team pushes in with you, you're waiting for them to use abilities, right? Then McCree and Ana use their sleep and nade and flashbang, right? Because then now they have less to contest you, right? So it's less about you. It's not that I'm asking you to instantly go in on top of them. It's more like I want you to be within a range to where you can be ready to go in, uh, the opportunity. And
Oh, okay.
on top of that, you can also create the openings yourself by just poking them down, right? If you're sitting at this like mid range, um, mid range, right, you can just left click into them and poke them down, and then if you poke them down to low HP, then now that's an opportunity where you can dash in and finish them off, right?
Mhm.
All right. What was your second question?
It was about like the awareness.
Hmm?
I was wondering like how would I go about improving that?
Yeah, that's definitely a very fair question. Um, the same way that you go about improving anything, that we're talking about in any of the session is
Mhm.
essentially don't autopilot while you play the game. The easiest
Oh,
way to
okay.
not improve is to autopilot, and when you're autopiloting, you're not getting better at anything, right? You're just playing the game to play the game. When you actively think about the things that you're trying to improve on, so let's say with awareness, right, you actively think I need to be more aware. What do I look at kill feed, look at health, look at ultimates, look at time on the time bank, right? We have to make sure we're paying attention to everything. When we're actively thinking about that constantly throughout our game play, that is where we start to get better at it, right? Because we're thinking through it. And once we do that for enough of a time, that becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, we no longer have to put in as much thought, right? When it just comes
Mhm.
naturally, you don't have to constantly be reminding yourself to think about it, right? So like that way you can move on to something else, right? And I don't want you to do that with every single thing at the same time, right? If you try to do
Yeah.
all 20, 30 of the things we talk about in the session, you're going to get overwhelmed and you're not going to know what to work with. Instead, pick 1 to 3 things, focus in on them, probably focus more towards the more important ones, and then work from there. Move on to the next things once you get good with it. But it's the same basic concept with how you would get better at positioning, how you'd get better with ability usage, how you'd get better with ultimate usage. Is you just want to think about it while you're playing, so you can get better with it.
Oh, okay.
Alrighty.
4, 3, 2, 1.
So here probably I'd say same as last time. Just keep in mind on Genji, you are not a long range character, right? You are you're pretty much a close range character. The only reason why you can play, why you want to play at a mid range to start off is that you know you can get stunned very easily by all the stun characters, right? So
Mhm.
you want to be able to get within close ranges on people because that's where your dash and your right clicks get all the value and your deflects get a lot of value, right? So, essentially, instead of just same thing as last map and we're doing our approach here, instead of just walking down main where that's the most open part of the map, probably just come left side, and then now this means that in a matchup against Hanzo and McCree, we're looking better off, right? They can do a lot more damage to us from a mile away than we can do to them from a mile away. So we're better off trying to get, take this kind of more covered area so that we can get on top of them with less danger to ourselves, right? And then means that now we're within a closer distance to where we can actually get them, right? Right, 'cause now we see that exact same thing play out. We can't really do much to them. He just kind of pokes us from a distance, and then now we're low HP and we can't really do anything. Right, so whereas, for example, here, had we gone left, we now maybe are in a position to jump on Ana, right? Because if the tanks stop paying attention to her, like let's say the tanks are preoccupied with our team, that opens up a perfect opportunity to jump on the Ana here. Okay, so this is better. We're looking to get in on top of stuff faster, but again, same target priority mistakes in that we're just focusing the D.Va down, right? And then now D.Va just gets healed up. We didn't really accomplish anything. It's not like we're gonna get our ult within this fight, most likely. So us just poking D.Va doesn't accomplish anything.
Yeah, I guess I focused too much on trying to get my ult.
Yeah, 100%, right? And especially in these first fights, it's not like you're gonna get your ult here. So unless you're close to your ult, don't just focus on getting your ult, and you'll actually start to see you'll get more kills. You'll start to, as a result, ironically, get more ult charge when you notice that you're not just trying to play for getting your ultimate. You'll actually do more active things which get you ult charge faster. And then I think we're going to go over something real quick here in the training range here. All right. So essentially what we're going to go over here is something called crosshair placement. So are you familiar with that term at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we'll just do a quick review then if you're familiar with it, right? But I'm noticing it's coming up a little bit. Essentially, crosshair placement is placing your crosshair in the best place possible to hit the most shots, right? So the big one that I'm noticing is that we just aren't aiming head level, especially when we're just spamming down corridors and spamming into the tanks there. We're aiming more towards body level, especially on a taller target like Hog. We want to make sure we're just aiming up a little bit higher. And when we're already aiming at head level, that means that to hit headshots, there's a lot less adjustment. And therefore, when there's less adjustment, we're less likely to miss, and that just makes the shot easier to hit, right? So when we're just going left and right, those shots just become a lot easier to hit than if we're aiming at bodies. Now, the other thing this does is it just means that all spam shots we're just launching into the enemy team, when we're deflecting, when we're just shooting, right? All this just are hitting headshots rather than if we're just aiming body level, these all just hit body shots, right? If we're aiming head level, now all these shots are hitting headshots, right, as we're turning in this corner. Right?
Yeah.
Same concept, okay? We know that he's on the right, we're aiming head level, a little bit away from the wall here to give us some time to react, and then there's very little adjustment because we're already aiming at his head, okay? We're pre-aiming left side at head level, so that when we turn this corner, we're pretty much already aiming at his head, right? And that shot becomes a lot easier. And now these guys are going to be tilted down a little bit, so we're going to aim across there further down. So when we're turning this corner, we're pretty much already aiming there, right? So we're just pre-aiming, and when we jump, we also want to make sure that we're tracking down. We're still trying to keep on head level even while we're jumping, which becomes a little bit difficult. So that's why if you're just spamming and you're not looking, because the benefit of your jumping is, you're making it harder for enemies to hit you, right? Is the big main thing it's doing for you. Now, if we have a shield in our face, or if we're just spamming super far away, we don't really need to jump too much, so you probably don't, because that's just going to mess with your spamming. So if you're just looking to get some spam damage in while you're poking with the enemy team, that's where you just make sure you're not adding in jumps. And then when you are jumping, just make sure you keep still trying to keep head level, right? Because if we go back to the replay and we just rewatch how we were poking into the tanks there, we're going to notice that we're just kind of aiming really low on their bodies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I was familiar with it, but I never really thought about using it that much in this game.
Yeah, it has big uses in Overwatch, like just,
Mhm.
headshots do more damage than body shots, so allowing yourself to hit more headshots is gonna be really important. In other games, it's almost a mandatory thing that you have to get insanely good with, like if you're talking like CS:GO, Valorant,
Mhm.
Siege, those are all games where like crosshair placement is pretty much the majority of the game. Here it is a part of the game, it's not the entire game, but it still applies. So if we look through this fight after D.Va backs up, just a lot of body shots, but then here especially we see that we're going to just do a lot of spam shots into their bodies, and just watch how your crosshairs just angle down here,
Yeah.
right? Which just means that all these shots just end up hitting bodies, and we're not really aiming at the head level, which just means we're doing a lot less damage, which means a lot less ult charge, which means it's a lot harder to get kills. And nice deflect. Yeah, good general tracking is looking like.
Not yet.
Yeah, it's a good idea when you dash in on top of a McCree to try to jump up in the air. That makes it harder for him to hit his flashbang if you're above him, right? Because if you're right on top of the McCree, what does he want to do? He wants to look down, because if he doesn't look down, then the flashbang goes too far past you.
Mhm.
So looking down means that if you jump up, then that puts you outside of the range. So when we dash in on the McCree here, just put in an effort to jump up in the air above him. That way we don't get hit by the flashbang. You could also just look to deflect it right in, so you just get in his face and deflect, and then that way you're not getting flashed there. The only reason why we lived is because he went for the mercy instead of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're coming in with our ultimate. We're looking for that. Just
Should I,
good.
when I try to like deflect his flashbang, should I try to do both? Just get in his face and then like the jump also?
Um, if you add in the jump, you're probably not going to end up getting the deflect off, and then therefore the deflect is probably useless.
Oh, okay.
Because if he's aiming at the floor with it and you're above his head, then that's not going to catch the flashbang at all, right? So it's more like one or the other, not both at the same
Oh,
time.
okay. Alright.
All right, so we're looking for ult.
Onwards to victory.
Oh, coming left side. All right, so when it comes to using your ultimate, make sure you're looking to use it early. So the reason why is that, now this, you might not see it exactly in this fight, but the reason why you want to make sure that you're using your ult first ahead of the enemy team is, let's say, an easy example would say, let's say they just have an enemy Genji on their team, right?
Mhm.
If the enemy Genji uses their ult first, it does two things, right? First off, they just potentially win the fight flat out before you get a chance to use your ult, right? And then that means that you never got a chance, and then now they're up a fight win, right? The other thing is that if they use their ult, they get picks, they get damage, and they get an advantage, right? Like we talked about with watching kill feed. And then that means that now our ult just inherently gets less value because we have less people to capitalize on it, right? And they're already up picks. So being up getting 2 kills is less of value when you're already down 2 people, right? Now that means that in this fight, they use Dragon first, they use Bomb first. That Bomb has the potential to get picks, that Dragon has the potential to get picks, and it splits up our team. So us coming up in with Blade here is just a little bit delayed. You want to make sure you're looking to use it earlier on in the fight, and then that way, if they use Dragon, it gets less value than your Blade does. Make sure you're, if the Mercy is in chat, just request the damage boost here, you know, that because that damage boost is going to be a big booster on your ability to get kills with this, as here we don't get any damage boost, and that means that it's very difficult to kill things, and we have to do 2 slashes rather than 1. Okay. The other thing is, if we go and watch Mercy's point of view here, look at how she's trying to follow you, right? She comes in here. Actually, she doesn't even have line of sight on you. Sorry, I thought we left her line of sight by dashing over the wall. So dashing over the wall, maybe it'd be okay if you had an Ana, but you just have to be careful that you're not leaving a line of sight of your supports. There, she left line of sight of you, but it's just that she didn't pay attention. So just make sure, again, if she's not in chat, press the button. Just make sure she's on the same page as you, because her giving you that damage boost is really nuts. Even if you do have a nano boost, are you aware of what happens when you get a nano boost as well as a Mercy damage boost?
It's like a kill for just a slash, right?
Yep, exactly, right. So it's pretty, as well as the fact that she can also just heal you up while you're going. So it's pretty nuts. You want to make sure that you have all of the utility that you can get when you're looking for your blade. Okay, in general, just good blade mechanics, but more so on the timing that we're looking with our ults. So good usage of it. All right. You got out somehow. That's a little too aggressive. Pay attention to where your team is. Right. We still have 2 people walking back from spawn, and we're kind of pushing into their spawn by ourselves. And we didn't wait for we didn't let our team push up with us. The other thing is that we kind of like ran all the way over to out into the open here. In general, I'm not. This isn't too much of a problem. And on Genji, a lot of the time, it's not too big of an issue. But just in general, know that good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. So, for example, if we're right here, right, in half of a second, we can decide to go left side here and go, boop, they can't see us, right? Takes very little time, and now we can put the entire team out of our line of sight, and now they can't shoot at us. If we're standing right here, where are we going to go that puts us out of line of sight of them, right? To where they can't shoot us, right? So this was really bad positioning, because when we're standing here, they can shoot us for free, and we have nowhere to go, right? Besides us dashing out. So we want to make sure that we're not walking out in the open, and that we're standing more towards cover, more on corners, using pillars, right? So that you can use these things as cover, right? You have doorways, objects, right? This counts too, right? Anything that can block you from taking damage. There we just kind of went in without our team, got way too aggressive, and then also didn't use cover at all.
I need to recharge. Get into position.
Okay, kind of running straight at them. A lot of times you're going to want to take more of a side angle. When they see you running straight at them, that allows them to all shoot at you the whole time you're walking in. They can prepare to go on you. A lot of times you want more of a surprise advantage, right? When you get the surprise advantage by coming in from their side rather than coming from the front, that means that they don't shoot at you the entire time they're walking in, which can maybe mean that you have deflect. Like if you are walking straight at them from this way, right, that means you might have to use deflect, and then that baits out a cooldown. If you're walking at them from this way, you get the surprise advantage, which puts you, if you get in on top of them, that puts you at an HP advantage immediately, and means that you can get the jump on them with the first volley of shots, which puts them lower HP. It means that you have all your cooldowns, right? And it just means that you're taking less damage overall. Here we just kind of run at them from the front, which is, again, more so poor positioning / play style.
This is not the end. Get into position.
Alrighty, make sure you're not getting too aggressive if there's no opportunity for you to use here. We also get aggressive after we've used our deflect, which means we have no way to get out, right? So we use deflect here in a moment. Oh, actually, no, we didn't. Oh, whoops. That's not what I meant to press. Um, My bad. Okay, so we didn't use the flex, alright, but we kind of dash in here really aggressively when we didn't have a way, we didn't have any reason to. Mercy isn't low, she's not out of position. No one here is low. That means that we're just putting ourselves right in on top of them where they can sleep us, stun us, hook us, right? And we only have deflect to get out, so it's just a little aggressive there when we didn't have a reason to. We canceled deflect a little too early there when we were still like kind of right in on top of them. So just make sure keeping that up so you can get out with it. And then we end up dying because of it.
Come on.
My ultimate is ready. I'll be watching over you. Not yet. Activating self-destruct. Onwards to victory.
Okay, again, a lot of just priority targets here. What we want to be doing with this time is instead of spamming tanks. Actually, we're coming up on our ult here. So I think that's what we're playing for actually. Yeah, okay, so that's fine then. Now that I see that we're playing for the 95 and blade. All right. Unfortunate. 75% of deaths can be learned from, improved on, right? We can look at it and go, snap, we're probably in bad positioning there. Maybe we shouldn't have gotten aggressive. Maybe we used our abilities wrong. But the other 25%, like the one that we just had there, not much we could have done in that situation. We just got hooked and died. Okay, coming into this next fight here. Oh, same concept applies. We're looking to use our ultimate fast, not let them use their ults first. So here they end up using grab and visor first, which means that we end up losing. Make sure that you're make sure you're just trying to stay within the grab there. Nice to flex. They just got all their ults off in a row. Which means we don't even have an opportunity to use her ult. Alrighty.
I'm taking care of you, Genji.
Just again, while you're just poking there from choke, just make sure you're aiming head level, right? A lot of body level aiming right now. That just means we hit body shots, less damage. Alright. So I like the kind of idea here that you're going for. You're looking for the supports rather than the tanks, so this is a good idea. We just end up missing a whole lot of shots here. If we, let's say, like we dinked soldier a few times, then that leads up for an easy opening. Here we get aggressive on no advantage, which just means that we're maybe putting ourselves in a poor situation.
The objective is now active.
Yeah, we're getting hooked a lot by the hog. Make sure you're trying to really respect all of the CCs that they have. We have to make sure we're watching out for them. They have a lot of CCs, so we have to be very aware of them. Here we've gotten hooked by hog very frequently, so what that means is a couple things. First off, hog is only able to hook you if you're not using cover. If you're using cover, then what you can do is you can break his hook because you can move around an object and then now hook doesn't get value. So hook only is able to hook you if you're not next to something that can stop it. So make sure you're using cover, right? The other thing is that as soon as if you see that your deflex is about to end here and hog's after you, just like flick up and dash, right? Just you have your dash available here. If we die when we have abilities, a lot of the time that's a good indication that we could have maybe used our abilities to survive, right? Just make sure we're trying to, again, also just avoid hog. Hog isn't something that we're going to be able to kill too easily. He's not going to be someone who we want to prioritize unless we're just trying to farm our blade real quick. So we just want to make sure that we're avoiding him and his hook. Oh, I'm sorry. It's like right where the speed button is. That's why. It happens every time. Okay, so we're very much ahead of this.
The objective is now active.
Alright, so we still have the soldier.
If we are to progress, we must claim the objective.
Allow me to repair the damage.
Make sure we're watching from the walk back from spawn. Okay, got a
Yeah,
little
it's
aggressive
really
there.
bad.
Yeah, make sure you're watching for the respawns there, as you know, it's very likely that because we saw that stuff died, that they're gonna get stuff to come back from spawn. So that's just something to make sure we're watching out for. Unless we got bubble there, we probably would have died.
Yeah.
Or had we not gotten bubbled.
Oh, I am ready to unleash coalescence. I need to restore the whole.
Right. Another hook. We're repositioning a little bit slowly here. Don't go for the rocket jump if you know you could just kind of do the same thing by running around. So going for the helix just means that we waste a lot of time there. Rather than maybe running around this side, run on the inside, right? And then that way we're behind a little bit more cover and we're not walking onto their side. Again, kind of the only way that we're able to get hooked here is because we're walking onto the open where Hog's able to see us, right? We're stepping within range of his hook, we're stepping out in the open, and then that results in us getting hooked, right? We should, you know, if we had better positioning, we would not have gotten hooked like so many times this game. Right? And that results in us dying. So positioning and awareness affects our survivability, and when we're dying very frequently, that means we get zero value, right? Us dying last fight meant that we now get zero value. Us dying this fight now means we get zero value, and then on top of that, it's not just zero value, it's negative value because our team is now at a disadvantage, right? So we lose our carrying impact and we also put our team at a disadvantage. So we want to make sure we're staying alive as often as possible so we can do more things, and that's going to be our survivability is going to be up if we up our positioning and up our awareness. And nice helix. Alright, again, just kind of a lot of body shots, right? Just watch the tracking and just look at where our crosshair's at, right? As we're shooting at this area, right? Body, 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 right? Body, 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 right? That just means that our crosshair placement is not on head level, which means that we're not hitting headshots, which just do like 2 times damage.
Damage increased. A touch from afar.
Nice helix. Again, not too much of a problem with our abilities. Looks like we understand helix and our health pack perfectly fine.
Not ready. I pass this
Here, I probably want to be positioned up on the top left. Okay, never mind, we're taking here. Just gotta be careful of the soldier. Make sure you're keeping up your audio awareness and listening for him. Right, turn up your volume if you need to. Make sure you're paying attention to your audio, right? The same way that we talked about how you improve the rest of your audio, or the rest of your awareness, you improve audio awareness by making sure you're paying attention to footsteps. That way, soldier doesn't get the jump on you. You get the jump on him. He is moving, you're not.
Got you in my sights. Clean sweep.
Alright, in general, when it comes to positioning, high ground positioning is going to, so a few different things here, right? First off, we're running on the open again, running kind of towards them. Soldier is a medium range character. Make sure we're not trying to get like inside of them here. Make sure you're not on the open. Also, probably want to be on high ground here, not on point. Ton of good stuff that comes from high ground usage, right? 3 main things that you get from it. First off, all of high ground acts as natural cover, right? This entire thing acts as natural cover. So let's just take this for example, right? We're shooting at McCree, right? We don't want McCree to see us anymore because he's shooting at us. We back up. Oh, actually, this isn't going to work too well from that angle. Let's snap. Let's try to find that like right here. Okay, so they can see us, right? This is hard to do when you're in the camera form, but they see us. Okay, we back up. Now they can't see us, right? So all of high ground acts as natural cover because if you back up and you add in a crouch, you put them out of your line of sight and they can't see you anymore, right? Same thing with the Reinhardt here, right? You don't want them to see you. You back away from the ledge, right? Top of that, ton of characters can get up to you, right? If we look at their team comp, the only character that could get up to high ground without having to run all around to a stairway is Mercy, right? Using a super jump. That's it, right? No other character that can get up to you, and therefore you have a ton of survivability when you're up there. It's very hard for them to kill you. Thirdly, you have a ton of visibility when you're on a high ground. 1 second we can be shooting at Reinhardt over here. The next second we can run all the way around here and be able to like drop on top of them or shoot them from up here, right? Shoot the Ana from up here, right? So we have a ton of visibility. We can see the entire map from here, right? We can see anything over there, anything inside of here, right? Just by running around this high ground, right? We have a ton of visibility on everything. So make sure on high ground here. Right now our positioning is pretty poor. Okay, and then as a result, we die, right? Let's just do a quick thought experiment. Let's say that we just throwing a number out there, we average around like 10 deaths a game or something like that, right? We have 10 deaths. Each death is 10 seconds of respawn time, and it's also 10 seconds of walk back time. And then on top of that, remember that deaths also put your team at a disadvantage and you're more likely to lose the fight, right? So let's say that we just cut out 3 deaths, right? We're just surviving a little bit more often. We cut out 3 deaths that game. Well, that means that now we've saved 20 seconds times 3, which is a minute of gameplay, which gives you more ult charge, more damage, more potential for kills. And then on top of that, now you're also participating in fights more and your team's losing less fights, right? Now we can also do that twice as much and say, okay, we go from 10 to 4, right? We cut out 6. Well, now we've gotten an extra 2 whole minutes of playtime, not just playing the game, but playing the game in fights, right? In fights that we're now winning because we are up a player, right? So we just really, really want to make sure we're not just feeding and dying because typically DPS trading 1-for-1 isn't usually a great great trade because as DPS you're expected to kill more than just one, and if you're looking to carry, you need to kill more than just one. So a 1-to-1 KD is not great. You want to make sure that you're looking to go for like when I'm carrying. That's when I know that's where I'm at like a 10 KD, right? That's how I know I'm doing good is because I'm getting like 10 kills of life, right? Going 1-for-1 isn't usually a good trade because that means that now you've lost all your carry potential here, and yeah, that DPS need to do more than just kill one thing. It's kind of in the job description.
Yeah.
No rest for the weary.
All right, so we are going to do a review here of the things that we talked about, do a quick little round the block wrap up of everything, and then on top of that, just point out the things we want to work on most. All right, so starting with abilities. Abilities are one of your stronger suits. You're really good on them, but as with anything, how you get better, even at things that you're good at, is by just getting consistent with them. Right now, you're pretty good at them, but you just want to make sure that you're consistently good and you're hitting them most of the time. So with dashes, just make sure that you're standing within dash range, but that's more of a positioning thing. Make sure that you're dashing at the floor when you're about to go past someone, so you're not dashing through them. Make sure you can use dash for survivability. If you're about to die, just like you yeet up in the air and you just get out. Kind of dash backwards, dash into your team. Just don't be afraid to use it as a survivability movement ability, right? Now deflect, I probably say deflect is even better than your dash. Just make sure you're not canceling it too fast and you're using it to get out of bad situations. You're not just there's sometimes where you'd be like right up on top of somebody like a roadhog with a hook, and then you just be like deflect, cancel, right, and then the hog would hook you and then you die.
Yeah.
So make sure we're just looking at those to be consistent. Now, ultimates, fantastic usage of it in the sense of good mechanics, right? We have good mechanics when it comes to our ultimate. We hit the blade slashes, just want to improve on some different areas as well. This definitely isn't the #1 thing to work on, though. Things to improve on it is going to be, first off, just making sure you're using it at the very beginning of fights. Right? That way you get more value out of it and you don't end up losing the fight. Second off, make sure you're paying attention to the flow of the fight so you don't end up over-ulting in a fight where you've won it. And then thirdly, with your blade, is just make sure you're communicating as best you can with your supports. So, and even characters like, you can combo with Zarya, both with her bubble and with her grab sometimes if you don't have a nano. So a lot of different people you can look to combo with. You can combo blade with Sigma ult when they all slam on the ground, right? So just make sure you're communicating with people so you get the pocket and you get the nano and you get all the abilities you want. That way you get kind of max value out of your blade. Now, General mechanics, very good general mechanics. We have good tracking. We hit shots. A big major thing is that we just aren't hitting as many headshots as we should be. Which headshots, 4 taps somebody. Body shots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. So does twice the damage. Right. So you're gonna be getting a lot more ult charge, getting a lot more damage in. Right. Securing kills a lot easier. So make sure that when you're keeping crosshair placement, keeping your crosshair head level. Also, make sure that you're understanding the difference between your left click and your right click. So make sure that you're at further ranges on non-tanks. You're left clicking when you're up against a big group of people or tanks. Then you want to be right clicking when you get a little bit closer, right? So that you can be a little bit more lenient with the right click if you know it's all going to hit something. But anytime all 3 shurikens aren't going to be hitting, you want to be looking to be left clicking for more accuracy. Now moving on, positioning and awareness are the 2 big ones. Positioning showed itself a lot in the last round or 2, and we ended up dying quite a bit just because we were out of positioning and we would overextend or we'd run out into the open. Make sure that you're respecting cover usage. You're not standing on the open, but you're looking to use cover. Make sure you're using high ground. Make sure that you're not getting too far ahead of your team, which comes into awareness category as well. Don't just run at them from straight on. Look to run at them from the side, right? It's kind of on a play style level is another big one. Is kind of just make sure that you're looking to get too close to them. Don't poke at them from too far away, right? We talked about how you're an opportunist. When it comes to your awareness, make sure you're paying attention to everything. There's a lot of stuff that goes into awareness. Make sure that you're paying attention to the kill feed. That you're paying attention to your teammates, the enemy team, right? Pay attention. Make sure you're not going in when you're down a bunch of people. Make sure you're paying attention to your audio awareness, right? And then all the different parts of your kit, such as your abilities, the time left and time bank, your ultimate, your health bar. I didn't see too much of an issue with those couple, right? But definitely more so on a general macro scale of making sure you're paying attention to kill feed, make sure you're paying attention to your team especially, make sure you're paying attention to the enemy team and your audio awareness. Alrighty, now as a kind of list of which we'll see an improvement on the most, probably say awareness is number 1. Ability usage, or not ability, oh sorry, and I just randomly said a random thing. Awareness number 1, positioning is number 2. After that is like your play style and just making sure you're playing all right. Making sure you're within range and you're not. And that's another thing to go along with positioning. Make sure you're within dash range and you're close to people. Play style. Make sure you're looking to be a little bit more aggro and you're not just playing around poking for blade. Try to get yourself in a position to come in from people on a side angle. Right. So positioning or awareness is number 1. Positioning is number 2. Playstyle is number 3, and then comes ability usage is number 4, and then ability usage is number 5, right? Those last 2 aren't too much of an issue, just need a little bit more consistency with them. Right? Any questions on the thing that we've gone over?
Not really. Just kind of, went over everything, so.
Alrighty. Then
And you said you recorded it as well?
yes, I did. So I'm gonna